And earlier this summer, he had a 10-day contract here at 710 ESPN.
What do you think, Scott?
I'm feeling you.
I'm pulling for the Chargers this year, buddy, over the Rams. So
I can't have that conversation. I don't know who the Chargers are. I'm watching Hard Knocks. I don't know who that other team is. I see the varsity team. I don't know who the JV team is. I don't know who those guys are.
Welcome in to the Scott Kaplan Show now on 710 ESPN.
Scott Kaplan, this is 710 ESPN.
Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
Weeknights 7 to 10 p.m.
Now here is Scott Kaplan.
Yeah, we're just getting onto the airwaves of 710 ESPN, broadcasting live throughout Southern California, home base, Los Angeles. What is going on, everybody? I'm going to tell you this right now. I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot of things I want to talk about. I'm looking for a little interaction tonight. I'm opening up the phones right away. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. Why? Here's why. Because today there was monster news being broken in our country. There were big things happening in America today. I barely saw what was going on in D.C., so that's not the big news I'm talking about. The news I'm talking about is James Harden being traded from Houston to Brooklyn. Okay, let me say this. We're going to talk about this tonight. I want your feedback, because here's my first thought. It'll never work. Here's what I mean. If you think James Harden, who was poison inside the Houston locker room and was getting ripped by his teammates on the way out the door after what he pulled last night, and I'll get to that. If you think taking James Harden and reuniting him with Kevin Durant is a great move, fine. But you're forgetting about the third part of the equation here, and that's Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving got something going on here that is not normal. You know, I understand people being upset by the events of things that have happened in America within the last week. But seriously, you're a professional basketball player. You get paid $400,000 a game to play ball. And all of a sudden, you're not playing ball anymore. And I really think that the Nets are going out and getting a guy like Harden, because I'm not really sure Kyrie Irving is long for the Nets or even long for the NBA. I'll tell you this right now. If you ask me to wager on it, give me a first reaction, initial thought. My first thought is there's no way that KD, Kyrie, and Harden can all coexist on the same roster. So I'm going to get there. But to get there, as we're just coming on to the airwaves of 710 tonight, let me remind everybody that we are not only on radio, but we're also streaming live video on Twitter at ESPN Los Angeles, on the ESPN LA Facebook page, live video. We've got a Twitch handle, which is twitch.tv/ESPN Los Angeles. And we're also on YouTube. Now, tonight, here's what I'm going to say. I'm only following what's going on YouTube, okay? I'm not watching what's happening on Twitch. I'm not keeping an eye on what's going on Twitter. Facebook is something that I'll get to before I go to sleep. Right now, the only thing I'm monitoring is our YouTube feed. Let me say this to you. I want you to get into our YouTube channel. I want you to subscribe. And then I want you to get into our YouTube chat. Because right now, I'm seeing that there's one dude commenting in our YouTube chat. Races Fan Rocks 4. I will read your comments on the radio airwaves, but you got to go make them on the YouTube channel. But I also want to talk to you on the phones tonight because I did an Instagram live video about an hour before showtime. And I got a lot of people from around the country that said, I want to call the show tonight because I want to talk about this big trade. So I say bring it, okay? Come on down. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. Scott Kaplan in tonight, holding it down, okay? Don't get it twisted, homeboy.
Scott Kaplan holds it down at night.
That's right. You know it. Okay, listen, let me get started with this. Let's backtrack for a moment, okay, everybody? The Lakers, big win again tonight, this time against Oklahoma City, 128-99. It's just not competitive. You know, I mean, it's just not, it's not bite your nails till the end of the game competitive. It's blowout city night after night after night. This is why, if I'm the Lakers, I love what the Brooklyn Nets just did, because I don't think that the Nets will be able to build team chemistry the way the Lakers already have 13 games into the season. The Lakers have right now championship caliber chemistry, and the Nets are going to have to try and figure it out with potentially 3 superstars, all of which are very sensitive personalities. And the issue is, whose team is this? Is it Kevin Durant's team? Is it Kyrie's team because he was already there? Is it Harden's team now? I mean, whose team is it? Who's going to take the back seat? Who's going to be willing to be the third option? I see these personalities as the kinds of guys that cannot possibly coexist together. That's my question tonight, and I want you to jump in on it. Here goes. If you follow me on Twitter at Scott Kaplan, Kaplan, I've posted this for you on the platform that I like to use for debate, Sided, SIDED. And I wrote this question earlier. Make a prediction. Can KD, Kyrie, and Harden coexist on the same roster? My answers for you are yes, they're the new super team and they can win it all, or no, these three will never be able to get along, too many egos. Right now, 78% are with me and they agree there's no way these guys can all get along. So go on to Twitter, follow me at Scott Kaplan, follow us at ESPN Los Angeles, click on the link that I've sent for you and jump in on this debate because I want to have the results as the evening goes along. So download that app, Sided. Okay. Let's go back. Let's all take a quick breath here. Let's all backtrack to what happened last night, okay? So last night, the Lakers, once again, victorious on the road, back-to-back wins against Houston. When the game was over, you know what we were all talking about? We were talking about the fact that LeBron had this three-point shot. Schroeder's on the bench and says to LeBron, you're going to miss. LeBron launches the ball, turns around, makes the bet, and then the ball drops in, and the bench goes nuts. That was the storyline of the game if you were a Laker fan, because it wasn't competitive, it wasn't close, and that's what we were all talking about. Let me back up to last night. Here's LeBron's post-game interview, and here's what he said about what we were all talking about last night. Play it, guys.
Well, my teammate, hit me with a bet on the sideline, and I took the bet while I was still shooting the ball. So, a bet isn't official until you look a man in the eye. So I had to look him into the eye, and I was able to win that one.
Okay, going to need a couple follow-ups on this one. Who was the teammate?
Dennis the Menace.
Okay, and so was the bet just like, can you turn around and look at me, or can you do it no look, or what were his words that you heard?
You said, bet you won't make it. And in order to make a bet official, you either got to have a handshake or you got to look a man in the eye. So he said, bet it. And I turned around, looked him in the eye, and I said, bet it.
What did you think of your other teammates' reactions around Dennis there?
I love my teammates, man. We got a great group of guys, and we want to continue to build what we've been doing on the road so far, and tonight was another example of that.
Okay, there you go. There's LeBron last night. I'm taking you back to 24 hours ago because I think it's an important part of building the story to the Harden trade to Brooklyn today. So LeBron says, my teammate makes a bet, I turn around, I bet. Teammates go crazy. I love my teammates. You hear LeBron, when you watch that Michael Jordan documentary this past summer, you got the sense that Michael Jordan was on his own island and he wasn't friends with anybody on the team. You hear LeBron, I love my teammates. The Lakers already have, with all the new parts and new starters and guys coming off the bench and people in different roles, the Lakers already have championship chemistry. It was something that I thought was going to take time to build. It hasn't taken any time to build. They got it. Okay? I don't believe the Nets will ever have it. By the way, For everybody that's calling for a Lakers-Nets championship series, you know what I think? I think the Nets will pull a Clippers. I think the Nets are the Clippers of the New York area. They may have the bigger stars. They may be the better team, but they're still the secondary team, and they'll still find a way to choke this thing out. There's no way these three guys are going to be able to get along. I just don't see it. Let me keep going, though. LeBron is talking about how much he loves his teammates. LeBron's teammates are jumping off the bench. LeBron's teammates are making bets in games because the game's already a 25-point lead in the second quarter. But here's what happens after the game when most of us were all concentrating on what happened with the Lakers. Here's what happened with the Rockets when James Harden went to the post-game press conference. Remember, this is last night. This is before all of the events of today. Harden goes to the press conference last night, and here's what Harden says to the media about the situation in Houston. Play it, fellas.
We're just not good enough. We don't, obviously, chemistry, talent-wise, just everything. And it was clear, like I said, these last few games, they just, from the beginning of the game, they were just aggressive. Veteran team, obviously, championship team, and, one of the best teams that we have in this league. I love this city. I literally, I've done everything that I can. This situation is crazy. It's something that I don't think can be fixed. So,
all right. So I'm done. I'm standing up. I'm getting out. I'm leaving. I love this city, man. I've given it everything I got, but we're not good enough, and it's not going to get any better. Man, oh man, you talk about a guy who is just poison in a locker room. You talk about unprofessional, disrespectful to his teammates. Here's his new teammate, or was his new teammate. John Wall had just come to Houston. This guy hadn't played in forever due to injuries. He's out there balling. Here's what John Wall said. Again, remember, we were concentrating on LeBron, flipping around, making bets, having a great time, blowout victories. Now the Lakers are 7-0 on the road, first time in franchise history. I mean, they're dominant right now. And we're all focused on the Lakers, but while we were focusing on the LA story, not only was James Harden saying we're not good enough and it's not going to get better, but then here's what John Wall had to say about James Harden. Listen to this.
At the end of the day, a lot of guys here want to compete at a high level. And like I told everybody tonight, and I told the guys before, when the 1 through 15 guys all on the same page, they commit, they know their role, they know what they want to do, they know what they want to get out of this, that's the win, you all will be fine. But when you have certain guys in the mix that don't want to buy in all as one, it's going to be hard to do anything special, do anything good as a basketball team. I've been on those teams. In my 11 years been in the league, I've been on a team like that my first 5 years where it was all about me, not about the team, and that hurts. And it brings everybody down. So when we can get all on the same page, we can be something good here. And we can't dwell down on it because it's only been 9 games. Like, come on, man. You want to jump off the cliff off of 9 games? There's a lot of basketball still be played.
Right. I mean, that's John Wall calling out James Harden for quitting on the team. That's him calling him out saying, you know what? It takes a team to do special stuff here, man. It can't be about you. It can't just be about one individual. I mean, listen, I know this sounds like high school stuff, but it's true. It is absolutely true, even at the professional level. And then the last one I want to play for you is Boogie Cousins, because, this is a guy who I perceive to be a terrible teammate. But Boogie Cousins went off on James Harden, and this actually happened earlier this afternoon. So from last night and all the stuff that was going on last night to today in the trade, and here's what Boogie Cousins, again, this is not a guy who I consider to be a great teammate. But here's what Boogie said, because he was very insulted by James Harden's behavior. Take a listen to this.
Obviously, it's disrespectful, but everybody has the right to their opinion. We feel a certain type of way about some of his actions, but this is the nasty part of the business that kind of gets swept under the rug. You deal with these type of things, and when guys are in positions of being, franchise players or whatever the case may be, it's usually sometimes a nasty, breakup. Like I said, that's all part of this business.
As someone who signed here as a free agent, you weren't traded here. It was your choice. Do you feel betrayed?
Me personally, I don't feel betrayed at all. My interest is playing with John Wall, to be brutally honest. And with that being said, the disrespect, started way before, any interview. Just the approach to training camp, showing up the way he did, the antics off the court. I mean, the disrespect started way before.
Yeah. Showing up the way he did, you know what that means? Everybody on the same page here? You know what that means? Showing up the way he did. Everybody, we all on the same page here? You know what that means, right? He's fat. He's fat and he's out of shape. And he showed up here fat and out of shape because, you know why? He don't care. He does not care about us. He doesn't care. He doesn't have any respect for us. All he wants to do is get out of here. He's not scoring anywhere near the way he's capable of. He's throwing up garbage shots. Has no respect for us at all. If he didn't get traded today, I'd have told him to not even show up. Like, we'd be better off without you than with you. So now Harden gets traded. We've kind of gone back to what happened 24 hours ago, and now we know what happened during the day. Harden gets traded to Brooklyn. My instant feedback is it'll never work. And the Lakers should be happy because they've got championship chemistry, and I don't think these three guys on the same team, in the same locker room, in this kind of a year, I don't think these guys can have championship chemistry because at least two of the three of them are completely self-centered. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you think? 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. I'm just getting onto the airwaves of 710. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, I want you to get involved. You got the number, and you got the question. Can the three of those guys coexist on the same team? I say no. Let me hear from you. Here come your calls. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
We're giving away cash on 710 ESPN to begin 2021.
We know we can all use a little more cash heading into the new year.
And Mason and Ireland have cash and Lakers store gift cards to give away.
Mason and Ireland have cash in 2021.
Listen today to Mason and Ireland at 2 p.m. for cash. Mason and Ireland have cash. We are the voice of LA. 710 ESPN. is the Scott Kaplan Show. It's Scott Kaplan, live and local on 710 ESPN.
Yeah, Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. We're coming on the air tonight at 8:30. So following up the Lakers and another big win tonight against Oklahoma City. Total devastation. I mean, total destruction. It's not even close. And I'll tell you, 128-99 is the final score. Anthony Davis, 18 points. LeBron, 26. Dennis Schroeder had 14. KCP with 10. And he got a big dunk tonight after last night when he went up for one and got stuffed by the rim. Markieff had 11. Montrezl Harrell had 21 points tonight. Big night for him. So another win for the Lakers on the road. They're 7-0 on the road so far this year. It's the best the franchise has ever started out. But it's not really the story. The story is that last night the Lakers went to Houston and annihilated the Rockets in back-to-back games. We all knew that the James Harden situation was combustible in Houston. But I will say, to his credit, at least he was showing up and putting on a uniform. Now, look, there was a moment during the pregame of the broadcast last night. This was on the Houston television broadcast where the announcer, whatever his name is, this is what he said. They showed James Harden in the warm-up line, and he's wearing a full sweatsuit. And the announcer says, there's James Harden. Looks like he had quite the pregame meal. Everybody's been talking about how fat Harden is. He shows up looking like he's out of shape because he shows up like a guy who doesn't want to be there, doesn't care, is trying to force his way out. With everything I've ever heard and read about James Harden, that the team has to stay in certain cities the night after games because Harden wants to go out and party. He doesn't show up on time to team flights. I mean, all the little stories you hear about James Harden. When you put that personality together with Kyrie Irving, who right now is willing to sacrifice his $400,000 a game paycheck because he wants to deal with community issues and he wants to deal with real life issues. Guess what? I applaud Kyrie Irving if that's the case. But brother, I would say this to you. I'll go with my man Stephen A. Smith from earlier today and I'll play it for you. You know what you should do? Dude, retire. The only problem you got to think about is this. The game is what makes you famous. The game is what makes you relevant. It's what makes you rich. It's what gives you this luxury of being able to do these sorts of things. I can't imagine that if Kyrie Irving rejoins the Nets, if Kyrie Irving rejoins the Nets, there's no way that these three guys can all get along. I mean, Kevin Durant is the man of the group. You got a guy like Kyrie who is the aloof personality of the group. And then you've got the guy Hardin who is more the diva of the group. I just can't see these three guys all coexisting. You think these guys can win a championship? I mean, maybe in a street ball tournament where they just go out and they play. But in this kind of a season where you're barely practicing, and you think these guys are coachable, by the way? And if you do, think about the coach. This guy's a first-year, first-time head coach. I don't care how great of a player Steve Nash was. The likelihood that he can Phil Jackson these kinds of personalities, I'm going to have to say this is a rookie head coach. Let's see it. My question
Let me say this
is,
straight up and down.
Yeah, let me play this Stephen A. for you, but hold on. My question tonight is this. Make a prediction. Can these three guys coexist on the same roster? And I've posted it for you on Twitter at Scott Kaplan. We've posted it for you at ESPN Los Angeles. I want to get your reaction to this question right now. 78% of people are telling me that they do not think these three guys can coexist. I'm coming to your phone calls. But here's what my man Stephen A. Smith said earlier today on ESPN. Go ahead and play it, Steve.
Let me say this straight up and down. I think Kyrie Irving should retire. I think he should announce his retirement today. Clearly, you don't want to play basketball bad enough. Now, you might still want to get the $33.4 million, obviously devoid of some of the docked pay you'll receive because you haven't complied with safety protocol measures, and as a result, the league is going to determine when you come back instead of yourself, or taking personal leave and obviously forfeiting game checks or whatever the case may be. But still in all, at the end of the day, you know what? You're still going to get, in excess of $20 million at the very least, even though you're on the books for $33.4 million this year. Kyrie Irving has not prioritized basketball. I'm not saying he doesn't want to play all together. I'm saying he hasn't prioritized it. And how fair is that to the Brooklyn Nets? How fair is that to Sean Marks? How fair is that to Steve Nash, a coach that he endorsed bringing on board, a coach that he wanted, a coach that he fully supported? How fair is that to his brother, Kevin Durant? Now, we can sit up there and say what we want about Kevin Durant, temperamental and all this stuff. This brother is a superstar and answers the call the way superstars are supposed to answer the call. Whenever he can play, he does play. That's who Kevin Durant is. He loves playing the game of basketball. He can play it for a lot of money because he's so great he commands it, or he'd play for free. But he'll play anywhere because that's who he is. Kyrie Irving clearly is not interested in doing that, and that's the problem. So guess what? Go ahead and retire.
See, I'll buy that. Because I just can't see how these three guys can all play together on the same team given these personalities. I just can't see it. Look, if you tried to sell me on Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman, I would say to you that was Michael Jordan's team and everybody knew it. And they had an experienced coach who knew how to handle it. You got three guys that haven't been together very long and two guys that have played together in the past and one guy that doesn't want to play right now and another guy that forced his way out and he's going to have to just start working his way into shape. I just don't see how these three guys can all coexist. It's my question tonight on Sided. I definitely think you should download this app, Sided Debates, and let's have that conversation there. Let me go to the phones. Let me see what's going on out there. Here's Gabriel in L.A. Hey, Gabe, Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. What's happening tonight, man?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
All right.
I really have a hard time believing as well that this trio can work together. The chemistry, I just don't see being there. Sometimes I think we reduce it to like a lot of egos, but it's more of this like obliviousness to chemistry and how vital it is. And I think that's been the common denominator on every team these guys have been on. For the most part. I feel like with Kyrie, LeBron obviously just took it on his shoulders to be the example of chemistry when they won. Kevin coming into Golden State, they had just an overload of talent, and it worked out because they were an obvious favorite. But, in the past, you brought up MJ and Dennis Rodman and Scottie. There was this understood thing, even with Kobe and Shaq as well, that when you step on that court, I'm going to get everything I can get out of you, regardless of, what you're doing off the court. But you have Kyrie who's not showing up, and then you have Harden who is coming in nonchalant and almost heartless. And so we've seen a lot of teams with not a lot of talent, but with good chemistry do some pretty amazing things, like the Mavericks in 2011. But we've seen a lot of the teams with a lot of talent underperformed due to lack of chemistry, and I think that's going to be their story.
Yep, I'll buy that. I'll buy that all day long. Gabe, great call. Really great call. Listen, when LeBron James left Cleveland and went to Miami, when he went there, he was obviously already the number one star of the NBA. But the fact of the matter was he walked in through the door somewhat respectful of Dwayne Wade, what he'd already accomplished. They wanted to play together. They got Bosh, and it was a trio from the beginning. But really, it was Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat team, but everybody understood who LeBron was. When LeBron came to the Lakers, everybody knows that the Lakers now are LeBron's team. It's like a marriage of brands between the Lakers and LeBron. But Anthony Davis is not an equal to LeBron, maybe on the floor, maybe in basketball terms, maybe in scoring and minutes and blocks and rebounds. Yeah, he's an equal, but in terms of being a superstar, LeBron James is overwhelming. It's his team. And by the way, you'd be smart to get onto his team. If you look now, and by the way, look at Kevin Durant when he went to Golden State. That was Steph Curry's team, but they were willing to recruit and then yield to the greatness that was Durant. But you see, the problem is I don't see Harden yielding to Durant. And I don't see Kyrie Irving yielding to Harden. And I think you're going to have three guys that all expect the ball all the time and are not team-related kinds of players. And I really shouldn't put Kevin Durant into this group. I should really make it seem like between Harden and Kyrie Irving. These are two very unique, eccentric personalities, and I don't see these guys coexisting. Let me see what Eric in LA has to say. Hey, Eric, Scott Kaplan here on 710 ESPN. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you got to also mention that they're ball dominant. Like Harden, Kyrie, and even Kevin Durant to an extent, they need the ball in their hands.
Yeah.
You know, you can have the best players, but you got to have them work and fit in a certain puzzle. That's why AD and LeBron work so well, because LeBron is the one that handles the ball and AD does what he does. I think really the Nets are better off with just Kevin Durant, LeVert, and the other guys. They're better off then. Kyrie, Harden, and Kevin Durant, I agree with you. I just don't see that working, you know. And Scott, we got to talk about LeBron's greatness, because as great as he is, to me, one of the greatest athletes ever, what he does socially and just in terms of voicing his opinions is how great of a teammate he is, man. Like, he is the antithesis of what Harden, Kyrie, and all these selfish guys are. Like, he is a guy, there's a reason why our chemistry has been great. Vogel, as great of a coach as he is, it's because of LeBron, man.
Right. Of course. I mean, of course, listen, LeBron does for a team, in my opinion, similar to what a Tom Brady does for a team. And we didn't even really know what Tom Brady does until he's no longer with the Patriots. He turns other people around him into winners. Do you think Frank Vogel was a great coach before he got to the Lakers and he got LeBron? Versus now, you look at Frank Vogel and you say, the way he knows how to manage personalities and maybe sometimes stay out of the way in certain respects of LeBron because he's so overwhelming. But he is great. And to hear LeBron last night, this is why I started with last night, to hear LeBron talk about how much he loves his teammates, to know that Dennis Schroeder bet him that he was going to miss that shot when you would think Dennis Schroeder would be like, hey, LeBron, good shot, man. Like, hope you make it, buddy. Like, it wasn't like that. There's friendly teasing going on, even at the highest level of the superstar of all superstars. The Lakers already have team chemistry, championship caliber chemistry, because the guys who came in wanted to be part of it, and they understood that this was LeBron's team, and it was AD's team, and they had respect for guys like Kuz and KCP and others and Vogel. They understood we're joining to become champions. I look at Harden, and he's a great individual scorer. He's just not a great team player. That's the way I see it. Eric, great call tonight. And you're right. These are all guys that want to handle the ball. One more call. Let me sneak one more in. Do you think I can do it, Curtis, or you think I should move on? Because Ramona Shelburne, who broke this story, is going to join us here in a matter of moments. All right, let me jump to Momo then. Ramona Shelburne is here in just a matter of moments. She broke this story earlier today of this Hardin trade. I want to talk to her about what she thinks. Does she think these three guys can coexist? And does she expect Kyrie to be back? It's definitely the story of the night, even as the Lakers have advanced now to 7-0 on the road so far this season with a 128-99 win over Oklahoma City. Let me talk to Ramona Shelburne about this, and then I'll come right back to your calls. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
Hey, it's Keyshawn. You ready? LA's mega sports lineup.
Are you ready? On LA's mega sports station.
Start your day with me, Keyshawn, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Keyshawn, Jay Will, Zubin, and Travis Rogers. Here with you each weekday morning. Mike Greenberg, Greeny is back on your radio from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. At 11, you loved him for years on 710. Max is back. Max Kellerman for your lunch hour. And at 1 p.m., my guys Mason and Ireland are back in middays until 4 p.m.
How about a little afternoon flavor with George Sedano and LZ Granderson?
Sedano and LZ until 7. And the LA Sports Talk Now don't stop until 10 p.m. Each weeknight, Scott Kaplan holds it down at night.
The all-new 710.
Don't get it twisted, homeboy. The best sports talk in LA on 710 ESPN.
On 710 ESPN.
We're giving away cash on 710 ESPN to begin 2021.
We know we can all use a little more cash heading into the new year.
And Mason and Ireland have cash and Lakers store gift cards to give away.
Mason and Ireland have cash in 2021.
Listen today to Mason and Ireland at 2 p.m. for cash. Mason and Ireland have cash. We are the voice of LA. 710 ESPN.
Sports station.
This is the Scott Kaplan Show. It's Scott Kaplan, live and local on 710 ESPN.
All right, everybody, it's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. It is a Wednesday night. Lakers victorious earlier this evening, 128-99 over Oklahoma City. But if you're just getting with us, I started with how this all went down, meaning from last night, the Lakers winning the game in Houston, the storyline that we were all talking about after the game, which was really, because it was such a blowout, LeBron, the three-point shot, the bet with Schroeder, the bench exploding, the chemistry that the Lakers have already established, even with all the new bodies and new roles. And then the aftermath of Harden telling the media, this isn't getting better, it's not going to work out. And then John Wall going to the podium and saying, it's ridiculous because you're quitting after like only 9 games. And then even Boogie Cousins today saying how disrespectful it was, showing up fat and out of shape. And the deal goes down earlier today as broken by our own Ramona Shelburne, who broke the story that for the last few weeks, as we've all known, Harden's been trying to get himself out of Houston and to Brooklyn, and it turned into a blockbuster trade. Here to tell us all about it, our very own Ramona Shelburne, back on Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN, staying up late tonight. Hi, Ramona. How are you?
Yeah, I'm about to go to bed. It's been a day, right?
Yeah. What time did all this start for you today?
It started about 8 o'clock maybe in the morning, but it was kind of a continuation of last night because I think the press conference last night was James giving the Rockets that final kick off the last of the ledge here. You know, like he was like they had these offers and they'd been talking to other teams for weeks, and I know the two offer, you know, the offer with Philly and the offer with Brooklyn, and then you know the Celtics were in there too until the end. That was all building the last couple of days, and I kind of got wind of it yesterday, but I couldn't really put meat on the bones. Like, okay, you know, trades are kind of like dogs, you know, the boy who cried wolf, right? Like there's 7 times you hear it's close, and then there one time it really is, right? So, like last night, I was kind of like, something's going on, and then when he had those comments, I was like, huh. Like it felt like, okay, that just confirmed what I'd been hearing, and you know, Adrian Wojnarowski and I were working pretty closely on this for several weeks anyway. So we got on the phone last night and this morning pretty early and calling all the people we needed to call. And it was one of those trades that I think it's really been those three teams, those three Eastern Conference teams, and then a couple other names. Obviously Portland is another team, and there were some other teams that inquired about him too that were not like on his list. But he would consider, and they also had interesting trade assets that they called. And, I think Houston, found, and you asked me this a couple weeks ago, so it's funny to close this loop, right? But Harden's behavior, his play, whatever, him going to the birthday party with the Prada bag full of cash, does any of that affect his value? And I was like, no, I don't think it does. I think there's going to be a lot of people who still want him because it's James freaking Harden, right? Mm-hmm. And, the Rockets had a lot of options. They really did. They really had a lot of packages and options. And
so wait, so let me ask you a question. So let me ask you this. So Ramona, are you saying then that when Harden went to the podium last night and he said it's not going to work out and it's not going to get better, that wasn't like the last straw for Houston? It's not like they got on the phone this morning and said, we'll do anything to get rid of the guy.
I think they were pretty close to doing this anyway.
Right. So that's what I'm asking. So Harden goes there and he knows this already.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He knows because Harden, he asked for a trade, and this is one of those things in reporting that, I don't know if people get how this works, okay? Harden went to Tillman Fertitta, the owner, before the season and told him, I'm not feeling this, I don't believe in the direction of the franchise. He wasn't happy that Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni were gone. He wasn't happy with some of the decisions they'd made financially, right, to get out of the tax, and he thought were not basketball decisions. Because, he just didn't see a future and a way forward, right? And Tillman, obviously was disappointed, and they didn't want to be bullied into trading a franchise player. But Fertitta honored that at the time and told him that he would trade him. He was like, okay, we'll look for a trade. We're going to do it on our timeline, not yours, but we'll look for it, and I'll give you my word. We're going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
And I think James always had that understanding, but he and his agents have been working for the past month to do this. They've been, they'd had permission to sort of solicit, teams and trades on for him, and communicate that. So James always knew how strong his market value was. He always knew which teams were out there. He always knew how strong the offers were. And it was like last night, he knew that there were three teams from the Eastern Conference in hot pursuit. So, I don't know if that's why he decided to vent that night, or if he was, if it was premeditated, or just hey, come on guys, let's just do this. I think and I know, right? It's time. There's these moments where it's time, and whether he did, I think him saying that last night certainly added a little level of urgency to the situation. It was a risk on his part because obviously, you don't really want to, make people mad on your way out. It'd be better if you didn't have to do that.
Oh, he did it.
You also don't want to let things linger for another week or two.
Yep, he did it. We're talking to Ramona Shelburne tonight here on Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. Ramona broke the story earlier today about the James Harden trade to Brooklyn, and I'm calling it that even though there were 4 teams and there were lots of players and lots of draft choices, the bulk or the headline here is that Harden gets his way essentially and gets traded out of Houston to Brooklyn. Ramona, explain this to me because I have a perception, which is Kevin Durant is a sensitive guy. Kyrie Irving is sort of half in, half out on this season. That's just my perception. Plus, I think of him as being a very aloof, eccentric personality. And then lastly, I think of Harden as being a very selfish player and frankly, a selfish personality. So I don't know if I'm right, but that's my perception. So if you have a selfish guy, an eccentric, aloof guy, and a sensitive guy, and they all show up on the same team, and they haven't had time to practice necessarily, and it's a strange season, and all this other stuff, I find it hard to believe that these 3 guys can coexist and be successful no matter how talented.
What could go wrong, Rick? What are you trying to say?
You tell me. I mean, what do you think?
Listen. You get the talent first, You throw them out there and you say, "Go play, guys." You know, pretend it's an all-star game. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do. I know it's going to be great copy. It's going to be really fun to cover.
Yeah.
You and I are in the entertainment business, and so we root for things like this.
Totally.
I would have been just as happy if it ended up in Philly because I think that's fun too. Like, that would have been interesting. Definitely Boston would have been interesting. So all three of these, you know, potential landing spots would have been really interesting. But, you know, my sense of how this is going to work out, I don't know. I mean, I'm to be honest. Like, when I first heard this, like back over the summer or off season, when you know Kevin Durant and James Harden were working out together in LA, and they were talking, and we reported it at the time. When I first heard over the summer, I was like, "That sounds like a crazy mess to me." But you know what? Like, they know each other. They're friends. They obviously Kevin Durant and James Harden played together in Oklahoma City. They went to the finals together. You know, they won together. James was a sixth man. He was a different person back then and player. But, you know, they know each other really well. They worked out all off season. So the big wild card here is Kyrie.
Right.
Okay? And I think that was also part of the reason Brooklyn felt more motivated and willing to do this trade, because if you got somebody that you're not positive you can count on, okay, like he can come back next week and be fine the rest of the way, or you can come back next week and duck out a week later, or you can just not come back. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with that, right?
Right.
And if you got somebody like a superstar that is the main pillar of your team that you're not sure, like, go get James Harden, because you don't want to waste Kevin Durant's prime. Like, these two guys can be your two guys now, and Kyrie can just be out, and then he'll either work his way in or he won't.
Make a prediction. Then make a prediction. If you told me this was Durant and Harden, I'd say, okay, I got that. But if you tell me it's Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving, I say that's a chemical explosion waiting to happen in a laboratory. And by the way, Steve Nash was a great player, but he's a rookie coach who's 10 games into his coaching career. I don't care what's sitting next to him or who's sitting next to him on the bench.
I laugh because you're right. I mean, all of this is true, and all of this makes me laugh too. Right? Look, Mike D'Antoni's his associate head coach.
Yep.
He really he vouched for James. He's very excited about this trade, and I think that factored into their willingness to do it. I think James and Kevin are more alike than you would think. I know those guys. I know Kevin a lot better than I know James. James is kind of hard to know, right? But they're both just hoopers. Like, they like to play basketball. Like, they just Kevin Durant walks around in sweatpants and wants to play basketball all day long. Like, that's just what he does. James Harden likes to go to strip clubs and play basketball, okay? Both things are true, but he really does love the game. He really does love basketball. Kyrie, I think, loves the game, but he also has his head in a lot of different places. You know, he's on the Zoom call with the politician. He's at the birthday party. He's, you know, I mean, he's really smart, but he's also really, I don't know, selfish, whatever you want to call it, you know? And yeah, it sounds like three unstable atoms, right, that are going to make a big bang, and I don't know what's going to happen. But you know what? Like, if there's one coach that I feel like I would say, I'm kind of laughing. I kind of want to send Steve a text right now and chuckle or something. Have fun. Right? Now this is going to be fun, right? Like the famous Sports Illustrated cover of him and Dwight Howard as Lakers. But Steve Nash is a really good leader, and he's a really good people person, and he's really tight with Kevin Durant. They've been close for 10 years. They worked out together when Nash is still a player. He's a big reason why Durant went to Golden State in the first place. I think at some point it's just going to come down to whether or not Steve Nash can reach those guys, get all three of those guys on the same page. And it's kind of the ultimate question of just like talent over chemistry, right? I mean, the most talented team in the league with those three guys. Yeah. I mean, three superstars is bigger than two superstars, right? But how much will the chemistry matter? I mean, they don't have much of a team left. They traded away half the team.
That's exactly why I started tonight. I said, look, go back to last night. Watch LeBron launch that three. Watch he and Dennis Schroeder make a bet. Watch the bench explode. That's what's known as team chemistry. When LeBron is asked after the game, he talks about how much he loves his teammates. That's team chemistry. And while you may have the most talented scorers, or at least two of the most talented scorers, it doesn't ensure that you're going to have team chemistry. You don't have Phil Jackson coaching. That's not Steve Kerr. That's Steve Nash. Ramona, I know it's late. I really appreciate you being up with us tonight. Congratulations on breaking this story, and I look forward to having you back real soon.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
All right, man. Take care. All right, Ramona Shelburne right there. And that's a good conversation. But she's like me. I mean, she's like, I don't know how this is going to work out. It's my question of the night. Make a prediction. Can KD, Kyrie, and Harden coexist on the same roster? I want to hear what you think. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. We're on the radio on 710. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And the debate happens on the Sided app. So make sure you're joining us there. Let me grab your calls. What do you think? So far, 80% of people polled agree with me. These three cannot coexist. And you can have all the championship caliber talent, but if you don't have championship caliber chemistry like the Lakers currently are displaying, you're not going to win. You're going to be the Clippers. You're going to go out and you're going to get the best players available, and then you're going to flame out before you even get to the conference finals. You got the number, 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. Let me get your calls coming right back. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
We're giving away cash on 710 ESPN to begin 2021.
We know we can all use a little more cash heading into the new year.
And Mason and Ireland have cash and Lakers store gift cards to give away.
Mason and Ireland have cash in 2021.
Listen today to Mason and Ireland at 2 p.m. for cash. Mason and Ireland have cash. We are the voice of LA. 710 ESPN.
Oklahoma City, 7-0 on the road so far this year. Franchise best to start the season. So we started with the Lakers and what happened last night in Houston. The Lakers beat the Rockets in back-to-back games. James Harden isn't scoring anywhere near like he normally does, 30-plus points. Hardin, after the game, goes to the press conference and says, this isn't getting better, it's getting worse, and it's going to get worse, and it's not fixable. We just got done talking to Ramona Shelburne, who broke the story earlier today, and what does she tell us? She says, well, yeah. I mean, he pretty much went to that press conference last night knowing that the trade is coming. This was not a Houston Rockets reaction to what they saw last night on the court or in the post-game press conference. This was something that they'd been working on, and it was all coming to a head. Here's my opinion, and you'll have to call me and tell me if I'm way off here or if I'm way on here. Here goes. James Harden has not proven to be a championship player. James Harden has proven to be a championship caliber scorer. But listen, I can give you examples of NFL quarterbacks who have Hall of Fame statistics, but don't have any wins to show for it. That's James Harden. He got a whole bunch of scoring titles. He got a league MVP. That dude don't got no rings. That was really not very good with the English language. That dude don't got no rings. Yeah, it wasn't very good. But listen to me. I don't see James Harden. I don't perceive James Harden to be a championship caliber player. I don't see him as a championship caliber teammate. I feel the exact same way about Kyrie Irving, even though LeBron got him a title, right? I just don't think these guys are champions that way. Now, look, maybe I'm not giving Kevin Durant enough credit. Maybe Kevin Durant can do for these guys what LeBron has done for these Lakers. Now, granted, you don't have characters quite like Kyrie Irving and James Harden. And you're not putting this thing together on the fly 10 games into the season, which is already compressed. And I can assure you is going to be even more bizarre than it currently is with cancellations and postponements and COVID. But I'm going to tell you this. My perception is there's no way these three guys can coexist. If Kyrie Irving retired tomorrow and you told me it was KD and Harden, I'd be like, okay, maybe, but not the three of them. I don't think so. So if you ask me to put my money on, will they win a championship or will they flame out? Are they closer to the Lakers or are they closer to the Clippers? To me, I think this is the kind of team that could flame out completely before even making it to a conference championship. First-year head coach, I don't care about what kind of a great player he was, and I don't care about how great of friends he was with these guys. He's still a first-year head coach. I don't care about who his assistant coach is and who he vouched for, who he's had on his teams. This is all new. First-year head coach, first-year assistant head coach, first year of KD, first year of him playing with Kyrie, guys coming off injuries, and here comes a poison to the locker room. A guy who needs the ball all the time. Which one of these three guys would sacrifice? Which one of these three guys would be willing to say, KD, you're the first option. You be the second, I'll be the third. Which one of those two would be willing to be three? You understand what I'm saying? 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-3776. To the phones we go. Blake from Cabo checking in on Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. My man Balake, what's going on?
What's up, Scotty? Just having a little sip of a Pacifico, and I had to give you a call about this whole James Harden trade.
So I just want everybody to know that I was doing an Instagram live video about an hour ago. My friend Blake here is down in Cabo San Lucas. Yes, he's an American who lives down in Cabo. Huge basketball fan. And I saw you on my Instagram live, and you said, I'm calling the show tonight. So I'm glad you called. How are things in Cabo, Blake?
Things are good down here. The weather's always good. Life's good. Can't complain. You know how it goes. You like to visit me down here, so don't act like you don't know the place, buddy. But
no, I know it. But Blake, here's what I'm told. You ready? I haven't been down in a while, but I've been told that in Mexico, like they take COVID more seriously than we take it here in the States. Like if people go to resorts or hotels or whatever, like everywhere they go, masks and cleaning your hands all the time, and like that they're just really, really serious about it. Is that right?
Yeah, it is right, and I'm really, really proud of our town because, when this first hit, I wasn't sure how we were going to handle it. Our town obviously depends completely on tourism, but I'm really, really proud of all the restaurants, all the hotels are really doing a great job with all the guidelines that are set in place. And that being said, our hospitals, we checked into the hospital the other day with our baby boy just to do a checkup, and the hospital was clean. There wasn't anybody around. It was quiet. And I'm really proud of what we've done down here. So for everybody thinking about coming down, please don't hesitate. It's a good place to be. Most of you listening probably have been down here, but things are going really well, and they're doing a great job. Both the government authorities and just the business owners are doing a great job as well.
All right, Blake calling in tonight from Cabo San Lucas. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. I don't know what you're doing tonight. If you're listening on the ESPN app, maybe you're watching what's going on Twitter or YouTube or Twitch or Facebook, or maybe you're getting into my question of the night, Blake. Can KD, Kyrie, and Harden coexist on the same roster? Blake, what do you think?
Not a chance in hell, excuse me, but James Harden will never be an NBA championship. That's not that hot of a take, but I will mark it that by the time he retires, he will never have a ring on his finger. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, this is a pickup squad that they put together, and pickup squads do not win championships. At some point down the line, you're going to have to play some defense. You're going to have some need to have some ball movement and some chemistry and rhythm. Basketball is a game of runs, as we know, and you'll see teams that work through it at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season, all the kinks are worked out, and all of a sudden they're a championship-level team. I don't see this team doing that, and you had actually stole my thunder a little bit, is that the only person that can make this work is Mr. Phil Jackson. I don't see him coming back. We know he's not coming back to coach that team. But I just don't see it happening with the squad. If you want to put them in a gym on any given day, they'll win the games. But when it comes down to playing defense down the long haul, I don't see it happening.
Yep, I'm with you on that. And I think Harden is a diva, selfish personality. And unless you're going to tell me that everything I've ever heard about this guy, he's going to completely change his tune because he just desperately wants to win a championship and he's going to become a really good teammate like Dwight Howard accepted his role last year for the Lakers. Right. I just don't see it. Hey, Blake, glad you called in from Cabo. Make sure you're checking out the live stream on Twitter at ESPN Los Angeles. I'll talk to you later.
Always good to talk to you, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Mi hermano. Appreciate you, man. Here's Lynn in Irvine on Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. Lynn, good evening.
Good evening, Scott. I appreciate you, man. Last time we talked Christmas Eve, I'm Albertson Vaughn's driver, almost finishing up my shift. Always listening to 17 and ESPN. I really like it when you're on.
I appreciate that, man.
A lot of insight on a bunch of things.
Thanks, man. And now when you get home tonight and you got your phone in your hand and you're not in your car listening on the radio, now you can turn us on and you're like, let me see what his deal is. Like I'm home right now. This is broadcasting in 2021. I'm home. So it's you, me. It's Wednesday night. I got games on all my TVs. The Clippers just won. They beat New Orleans. It's us hanging out together tonight, Lynn. So talk to me. What do you got?
I appreciate you guys. I do that on Sunday, Monday. Those are my days off. I get to catch the NFL and stuff, and Monday's family day. But, Scott, getting to the subject, you're spot on. The thing about it, it's a lot of talent on that team. I played ball, and if we wasn't on the same page, we couldn't win. So here's what I'm leading to. The common denominator for a champion is at least one alpha dog that's in charge, that has the team under his reign. None of those guys are going to step up. Kyrie's brain dead. I'm sorry to say that. I would not want him as no leader on my team because he proves he can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
KD is an awesome dude, but if he grew up where I grew up, he's soft as marshmallows. You love his game, but he's just going to get you 30 and go home. James Harden, that guy sucks. I don't like his attitude. He's selfish as hell. He had a nice situation in Houston. He didn't make it work. Ain't no way. Like Blake already said, I don't have to say it, but those guys ain't winning that, man, because they don't have no real leader.
I agree. I'm with you. Listen, I am with you 100%, Lynn. Great call. Hey, listen, I'm coming back to more of your calls. I see you guys on hold. I know you want to get on the air. Let me tell you this. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a personal story of my own experience of being on a team with great talent and great coaches, Hall of Famers, Super Bowl champions. And I'm telling you that as much talent as we had in coaching and playing, we couldn't win anything. So this is why I'm hung up on this notion that I will take persistence over talent or chemistry over talent any day of the week. I'll tell you my own personal experience about this, and where I'm coming from on it. And then I want to grab more of your calls. Stick around. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
Hey, it's Keyshawn. You ready? LA's mega sports lineup.
Are you ready? On LA's mega sports station.
Start your day with me, Keyshawn, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Keyshawn, Jay Will, Zubin, and Travis Rogers. Here with you each weekday morning. Mike Greenberg, Greeny is back on your radio from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. At 11, you loved him for years on 710. Max is back. Max Kellerman for your lunch hour. And at 1 p.m., my guys Mason and Ireland are back in middays until 4 p.m.
How about a little afternoon flavor with George Sedano and LZ Granderson?
Sedano and LZ until 7. And the LA Sports Talk Now don't stop until 10 p.m. Each weeknight, Scott Kaplan holds it down at night.
The all-new 710.
Don't get it twisted, homeboy. The best sports talk in LA on 710 ESPN.
On 710 ESPN.
Each weeknight on 710.
LA's mega sports station.
This is the Scott Kaplan Show. It's Scott Kaplan, live and local on 710 ESPN.
Yo, what's going on tonight, everybody? It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. If you were with me last night, I was telling everybody about chocolate hazelnut Oreo cookies. And I'm an Oreo cookie purist. I just like a regular double stuffed Oreo cookie with a cold glass of milk. Last night, I decided to go with the hazelnut Oreo with almond milk because I'm on a diet. You know, like I'm really considering my health in 2021. So I went with almond milk. You know what I'm saying?
That's like a Diet Coke with a Big Mac.
I know. It's exactly right. You got it exactly right, Curtis Poindexter. That's precisely the case. And so I will say that when I threw this up earlier, which Oreos are better, the chocolate hazelnut or something called a Brook EO, which my daughter bought in the grocery store. Right now, I've got it at 51-48 in favor of the chocolate hazelnut. But that's not really the poll that I've been talking about tonight. You see, the thing is that this radio show happens on these airwaves of 710, but there's a lot of layers to it in 2021. If you're a Twitch gamer, we're on Twitch. If you're on Twitter just flipping around all night, we're on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, dude, we're just at the beginning, literally at the beginning of building our YouTube audience. So make sure you're subscribing on YouTube at ESPN Los Angeles. And of course, our Facebook page, ESPN LA. So we're on the radio, but we're video streaming, and our live video stream is being presented by Puente Hills Toyota. Puente Hills Toyota is the house of yes, la casa de sí. You feel me? Okay?
Lo siento.
Sí, gracias. Mucho gusto. So look, we're on radio. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Wherever you are, that's where we are. We're coming to you, Jack. Now, in all these places, we're having these conversations, but I'll tell you that the debate is taking place on Sided, the Sided mobile app. So look, I asked everybody tonight to make a prediction. Can KD, Kyrie, and Harden coexist on the same roster? I say no. If Kyrie Irving retires, like Stephen A. Smith suggests, I like these two guys together, reunited in Brooklyn. If you tell me that Kyrie and Harden are going to try and coexist and share the ball and share the spotlight and share Kevin Durant together, there's going to be a tug of war, an ego battle, and it's not going to. You'll have talent. You'll have scoring. I saw Tim Legler earlier tonight on ESPN. You got three guys who can combined score 100 points in a game. All may be true. But as our last caller said, if you guys are going to go out on the park and just bring these dudes and show up, they'll win all day long in park basketball. But in NBA basketball, where you got to be able to play defense and where there's not enough balls to go around for these three guys, I'm just not sure. I mean, people say, well, they got better. They added talent. But with a first-year head coach and with all these selfish personalities, I don't see any way that these guys can all coexist. Let me go to the phones. Steve in La Habra. Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. Steve, what's going on, man?
A lot of the great. What's going on, buddy? A lot of the guys said everything that I was going to say, but you just touch on it now. Who's going to play defense on this team? James Harden isn't going to play defense. Kevin Durant, he's a little long in the tooth. He can't. Plus, coming off an injury, he can't play defense like he used to. Kyrie isn't going to play defense. So this team, they couldn't beat the Portland Trail Blazers in a 7-game series, let alone the Lakers or the Clippers. James Harden, he's just a bad seed, man. Wherever he goes, and as he gets older, he becomes more of a bad seed. Now he's fat. I mean, this team ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, so the thing is this, and good call tonight, Steve. Thank you. Here's what I think of. When LeBron left Cleveland and went to Miami, he was respectful to the fact that Dwayne Wade was already a championship, and Dwayne Wade was a true Miami Heat drafted and cultivated player. He was part of Pat Riley's system. Dwayne Wade recruited, if you will, LeBron, and while LeBron was already a monster superstar, he wasn't a champion. And he yielded to Dwayne Wade, even though his personality and his business and his iconic stature, he yielded to Dwayne Wade, and then he just took things over. But he was part of a team. And LeBron, I thought back then, if you just were to look at it from now to then, you could look back on it and say he was a really good teammate. And when LeBron got AD was a really good young player, but let's face it, AD hadn't won anything yet. And while AD may be an equal part of basketball success, LeBron is so overwhelming in what a monster star he is and what a huge business, an economy that is LeBron James. That if you're Anthony Davis, cooperation on the floor, but forget ego off the floor. You ask Anthony Davis whose team this is, I'll guarantee you Anthony Davis isn't like, well, it's mine and LeBron's. He'd be like, no, it's LeBron's team. This is LeBron's team. I'm part of it. I'm plan B, but it's LeBron's team. Even when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, that was still Steph Curry's team. It's just that Steph Curry was selfless enough and was confident enough that He knew adding Kevin Durant would just give him more rings. And he was going to get his, even though Durant became the MVP of those finals. Kevin Durant was a good teammate because he joined somebody else's team. LeBron James was a good teammate. He joined somebody else's team. I'm not sure that James Harden has the chemical makeup to be a good teammate and join somebody else's team. I think James Harden is the kind of guy that wants the ball all the time and wants to get his 30 points per game. I think Kyrie Irving is the kind of guy that is completely self-centered on himself and what he wants to do and whether he wants to play or doesn't want to play or what's more important to him. Hey, look, there's an argument to be made that him choosing to put his time and energy into more social issues is a somewhat noble thing. Great. Go do that. I think Kevin Durant is going to have to, and this is if he's capable of, sit everybody down from the beginning and go, you guys want to win or not? Because if you want to win, this is what it's going to take. Because I've already been there. I know what it's about. Let me go to these phones and see what's going on. Here is Mike in L.A. checking in on Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN. Mike, do you think these three guys can coexist? What do you say?
I say no. First off, nobody's beating the Lakers. The only team I think can maybe give them competition is the Clippers. That is, if they don't choke again, gagging to somebody else before they get to the Western Conference Finals. I think, to me, obviously KD is the only reliable source. Even Harden, even though he's came up short, he does play well with Durant. They did get to a finals. I know it was in Oklahoma City, but I think those two guys have a rapport. But it's just, to me, I think the guy that's a cancer and the guy they should try to get rid of is Kyrie. I think they lost. Losing Karis LeVert's going to be major. I think Karis LeVert's a better overall player than Kyrie. He doesn't have the star power name that Kyrie has, so obviously a lot of people don't talk about him. And then losing a guy like Jared Allen, who's their only legit big, DeAndre Jordan is pretty much done at this point, is going to end up biting them because you need some depth. You can't just rely on those three guys. And I just don't know if they're going to be good enough to get past the Bucks and the Celtics, who I still think are better overall teams. As great as those guys are individually, I just don't think the complement of Kyrie, who I think is a major cancer, and I don't even know if he wants to play basketball anymore, is going to affect them. I think KD and Harden are better off together with a guy like LeVert if they were able to keep it. And don't forget their other stud, Dinwiddie, who's an all-star caliber player. He's out for the year, so that's another major killer. That's a 20-plus point guy scorer they lost. So I just think it's a lot of hype. It looks good on paper, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And good luck to Steve Nash trying to control those egos because it's going to be a major disaster. To me, I think they would have been better off getting that offer from Houston, that is, to Philly. I would have rather taken the Ben Simmons deal because I think Ben Simmons, he's not obviously the scorer that Harden is, but he can get you 20-plus points a game, and he's an elite defender, one of the best in the league, first-team all-league, and he's a great passer. So I know his shot doesn't as Harden, but he does everything else better than Harden. So I don't know what they were thinking because I think Woj or one of those guys reported that they offered Ben Simmons a bunch of picks. I don't know why the hell you wouldn't want to take that deal. Obviously, you're getting a lot of picks from the Nets, but I want this proven stud in Ben Simmons who can help me right now with Wall and the Cousins. But I think they're going to come up short, and I think it's going to flame out because those two guys aren't, they're not Curry, they're not Thompson and Draymond, who are the ultimate team players, and they're going to flame out. And I think it's the Lakers are going to either play the Bucks or the Celtics, barring, major injuries or something like that.
All right. Well, listen, good call. Great analysis. Excellent analysis, Mike. Appreciate the phone call tonight. Listen, let me give you where I'm coming from on this. So look, I will tell you that you could take the most talented athlete around, and if that person is not willing to put in the work, if that person isn't dedicated to the craft, then ultimately, as talented as you may be, at some point you're highly likely to be exposed because talent is great, but I will take persistence over talent every day of the week. I'll give you a personal story as to where I come up with this opinion, and here it goes. When I was in college playing college football, I played on a college football team that had great players and great coaches. So when you say, okay, smart guy, like what? What are you talking about here? Listen, coaches on my college football team, like when you put together the coaching staff, listen, this is a true story. This is back in the early 90s. John Gruden was an assistant coach, now the head coach of the Raiders. Mike McCarthy was an assistant coach, up and coming, now the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Both of these guys have Super Bowl championships, okay? Marvin Lewis coached in the NFL as a head coach in Cincinnati for like 15 years, had one of the longest tenures. Granted, it was a terrible organization, but still, Marvin Lewis was on this staff. Paul Hackett, you guys, hey, SC fans, remember that really impressive era of SC football that was led by Paul Hackett? He was the head coach. And besides having all these name brand coaches who've gone on to have really excellent NFL careers, win Super Bowl championships, players, Hall of Fame players, Curtis Martin, who had a brilliant career for the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. Reuben Brown was a 9-time All-Pro at offensive line for the Buffalo Bills and the Chicago Bears. Mark Spindler had a 10-year career as a defensive lineman with the Detroit Lions. Tony Siragusa won a Super Bowl championship as a defensive lineman. Sean Gilbert was the second overall pick by the Rams in the early 90s. I mean, I can go on and on. Louis Riddick, I've mentioned Louis Riddick was a collegiate teammate. The list goes on and on of all these talented guys that we had. So we had a ton of talent. We had top-level recruiting classes. We had big-name brand coaches, guys who've gone on to win Super Bowls and have names, streets named after them. We had talent at coach and at player. But you know what we never had? Never had that chemistry. Too many egos. Too many selfish guys. Too many guys who didn't get along. Too many guys who got into fights. Too many guys who got into trouble off the field. Too many guys who failed out of school. Too many guys, too many personalities, too many egos, too much selfishness, not enough guys that care about the team. So we may have had all the talent, but we got none of the victories. And that's what I see here. Tons of talent, lots of scoring, but diva-like, selfish, eccentric personalities that will never be able to mesh. So here's what I'll say. Prove me wrong. And by the way, they don't have to prove me wrong. They don't care about me. What I'm saying is that this is my opinion. It's based on everything I just told you. Now let's see Steve Nash be a leader. Let's see Kevin Durant be a leader. Let's see James Harden turn into a teammate that you want to play with. Let's see him not show up late for the flight. Let's see him not show up late for film study. Let's see him not say to the team, we got to stay in this city because I got to go to the clubs. Let's see James Harden become a teammate. Let's see Kyrie Irving show up and play. I mean, my goodness, James Harden may have shown up 30 pounds overweight last night, but he was at least in uniform. I'm telling you right now, I don't see it working. I just don't see it working. Coming up, final thoughts for the evening. Don't go anywhere. I've got a final thought for you. It's on the Rams and Jared Goff and who the starting quarterback will be against Green Bay. Stick around. It's Scott Kaplan on 710 ESPN.
We're giving away cash on 710 ESPN to begin 2021.
We know we can all use a little more cash heading into the new year.
And Mason and Ireland have cash and Lakers store gift cards to give away.
Mason and Ireland have cash in 2021.
Listen today to Mason and Ireland at 2 p.m. for cash. Mason and Ireland have cash. We are the voice of LA. 710 ESPN.
Steve Paylette, who is running the board for this operation, keeping us on the air. And I've got Janice, who is dealing with our social media and all of the live video streaming that we're doing. So for those of you that are new to the show, yeah, we broadcast on 710 on the radio while you're driving around. But if you get home, or if you're a multitasker, or if you like to see the video, I don't really know why you would. I'm not that hot. I mean, I'm aight. I'm aight. But I ain't that hot. If you want to see the video, though, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, at all the ESPN Los Angeles handles. And the debate and the conversation happens on Cited, the Cited mobile app. Last night I asked everybody, Rams fans, rank your level of confidence in the Rams upsetting the Packers in Green Bay in the divisional round. 54% of people polled said not so confident. Now, let me just make a comment real quick as I give you some final thoughts. So Jared Goff today was listed on the Rams injury report as a full participant. John Wolford, who has been the backup quarterback all season until he played the one game against Arizona and then started the playoff game last week against Seattle, he was listed on the injury report as did not participate. So today is Wednesday. You're preparing for a game on Saturday. It would occur to me that based on Goff's performance last week and the fact that he's been available for practice less than 2 weeks after having a thumb injury and 3 screws inserted into his thumb, when the backup quarterback played 5 quarters in his NFL career and already was taken to a hospital, he's smaller. I think he's kind of frail, at least based on being hurt like that this early in his career. Could have happened to anybody. I don't want to knock the guy. I root for underdogs. But what I'm saying to you is this. Jared Goff should have earned the respect by now to have already been declared the starting quarterback. If he's practicing and Wolford's not, what are they planning on doing? Starting Blake Bortles? I think they should just announce this. I don't know if this is considered gamesmanship between McVay and LaFleur, who used to work together at one time for 1 year with the Rams. But Jared Goff is practicing, and John Wolford is not. And my final thought, after all this talk tonight about everything that's going on with Harden going to Brooklyn, I'll give you my final thought is about the Rams, because I'll be back on the radio on Friday with LZ Granderson starting at 4 o'clock, leading up to the Lakers and New Orleans here on 710. But we'll be off tomorrow night for Laker Talk with Alan Slewa. Curtis Poindexter, you got a final thought tonight?
Lot of basketball tonight. I didn't think we were going to, before this headline, I thought we were going to be talking football all night, but it's pretty fun. We got crazy stuff happening.
What do you think? Do you think these 3 guys can coexist? Do you think these 3 guys can become teammates and become championship caliber besides just the scoring and the talent?
No, I've never been a Harden fan, and I knew that he was in it for himself when in the bubble, after he lost, freaked out and kicked over a hand sanitizer stand. I was like, this guy doesn't get it. I don't think it's going to work out.
You don't want to waste hand sanitizer, not in this world, not right now.
No, that's like liquid gold.
I'm telling you. Now, Curtis, are you watching our live video streaming at all? Are you watching this?
I'm not on it anymore. I was on it earlier, and then I was on it yesterday during our show.
Is there any way I can actually bring Janice on the air, who is sitting in her home? This is how this is done in 2021. I'm at home. Janice is at home. Curtis.
Janice, you there?
Was that correct?
Yep.
And Steve is there running this.
Yeah.
Janice, is there any way you can jump onto the air? I'll be curious to see if this actually works. I have no idea if this will work or not. Janice, are you there? Yeah, I can hear you. Janice, how do you like the fact that we are doing this live streaming presented by Puente Hills Toyota, the house?
Turn off his return.
We're doing these live streams, these video streams. Oh, well, thank you. You've done an amazing job. It's nice. Me and Janice get together every night. It's like 7:45. We turn on the camera at my place, her place. She shows me the little kids running around her place. My kids walk in. They're like doing TikTok dances for her. It's very nice. No, it's all good. Hey, thanks a lot, Janice. Thank you very much. Steve Paylette, thank you. Phenomenal job tonight, man. Way to run this thing.
You got it, Scott.
Way to go, man. Really appreciate you. Hey, I'm also pretty excited for the Marvel Studios WandaVision. The universe.
Thanks, Janice. Sounds good.
Original series starts streaming this Friday only on Disney+. Check out Marvel Studios' WandaVision original series streaming Friday only on Disney+. For my entire mishbucha, Steve and Curtis and Janice and all the great callers and everybody that's engaging on Twitter and on YouTube and on Sided and all the different platforms we're using. Had a great night. I'll see you on Friday when I'll be filling in for George Sedano with LZ Granderson. Until then, for this entire crew and the entire team here at 710, Scott Kaplan signing off and wishing everybody peace.